All right. Let me turn my lights on here. Welcome, everyone, to Fleet's live office hours. We try to do these every 2 weeks or so, and it's an opportunity for educating anyone who's interested in Fleet, answering questions. Basically, just another avenue for customers or open source contributors to interact with Fleet. And it's good for me because I like to have some kind of public speaking practice, right? Because I'm a developer, so most of my time I'm heads down writing code or having an AI agent write code. All right, so just high level. This forum is for answering technical questions about Fleet, deployment, configuration, code base, anything you're curious about. I won't have all the answers. I'm also not a customer success specialist, so it might take me a little longer to kind of try to reason through things, but I can definitely dive deep into the code, even though it might take a while. And if things are quiet in chat, then I'll work on my own agenda for this meeting. I'm trying to have a topic for every office hours. Today's topic is basically how we're trying to engineering improvements so that we can scale Fleet as a product and Fleet as a company. Sometimes other people drop in to help out. All right. So the topic for today is kind of what are we doing in engineering to kind of scale Fleet in general. So let me first talk about one thing we're doing. So we definitely had a busy Q4, even a Q3, because we onboarded several customers, and the customers have something on my forehead here. Sorry about that. We onboarded several customers, and some of those customers had customer promises associated with the contract. So we were building features that those customers needed so they can migrate to Fleet. And we were just hammering out features, and we didn't have as much time to devote to just cleaning up our bug backlog. So starting the sprint right now, which is going to be for 481, we are putting significant engineering effort toward clearing out our bugs. And I think everyone's happy in engineering that we're going to clean out bugs that have been sitting around for a while. But this bug clean out is going to take a few sprints, and hopefully Fleet as a product will become more stable and more resilient in the next couple of releases, and we'll have fewer bugs, obviously. So just wanted to mention that. So next thing I wanted to talk about is telemetry. So what I'm talking about is when you're running Fleet, the server, in production, whether we run it, we run a cloud instance of it, or you are running it on-prem, we want to be able to provide some telemetry as far as metrics, traces, logs, kind of unified, so that it's easy to debug issues on your own. It's also easy for our customer success, our engineers to debug issues if we're also using the same telemetry as on-prem customers. So we're kind of proceeding down that direction. We are in the process of kind of setting up that infrastructure, and I'm really excited about it. Because what I really want to do is I actually want to run this telemetry in my development environment. So that way, in my development environment, I am looking at the data largely in the same way that I would if I was debugging a customer issue. So I'm really excited about that. So let's talk about specifically where we are right now. So I have a Fleet instance running over here. And we have it hooked up to OpenTelemetry. And currently we are only hooking up, the 3 pillars of telemetry are tracing, logs, and metrics. So currently we have hooked up tracing. So we are tracing like our API endpoints. I think most of them, almost all of them. Like if some are missing, then that's a bug. And this is kind of out of the box. If we go to what tool are we using here? So here we're using a tool called Signos. It's open source. Just running it on my dev server for free. There's also other what they're called, other ways to view telemetry data like Jaeger and other tools. But I'm using this one, and out of the box it gives you some metrics, right? It gives you latency, everything. It's my dev environment. Everything's pretty quiet here. Let me see. It refreshed 10 minutes ago. Obviously latency jumps if there's issues, and it gives you some data about like your endpoints. So these largely correspond to our API endpoints here. So we do have also kind of internal, what we call cron jobs that we run. Some of them run, every 30 seconds. Some of them run once an hour. But we also have that visibility here. And then if we click into these, let me see, which one do I want to do? Let me see something slow. Perform required password reset. Oh, actually, let me do like a live demo. So suppose I go to queries and I want to add a query. And then I click save. And maybe I set some settings, whatever. Click save. So I did an operation on my Fleet instance. I suppose that operation had an issue. So I can go back here and I can look for that operation. I can go to traces, and I know it had queries in the name. So I'm gonna filter this root spans, and I want it contains queries. So I say and name contains queries. Like I kind of have to know a little bit what I'm looking for, but like this API endpoint kind of matches what we have in our code. So I know post is a write. So let me go ahead and do that. It also suggests some other things, and then I need to click stage and run query. So I see, man, it's really fast. I see this occurred 11:08, so it's 11:09. So I know this is the one I ran. And just to close the loop here, like I know this text is a little bit confusing, but it does match what we have in our code. So if I go to our code, oops, exposing a bearer token here. Let me fix that. Gotta be careful. So this was a token for this global observer. He's logged out, so that token should be invalid. But just in case, I'm gonna go ahead and reset sessions, revoke all active fleet. Yeah, okay, I think that's what I want to do. I think it was fine because this guy was logged out. All right, where was I? I wanted to show what these things look like in the code. So we go to a handler, server handler.go. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. View appearance. Okay. I'll make this a little bit bigger. All right, so we're talking about queries. Create query. Yeah, API version fleet queries. This is what we see in the code, right? And this is what we see in our auto telemetry as the name. This is kind of just largely like automatically instrumented, so we could change this. It's a little it lists you the options. It can be either V1, it can be 2022 4, or it could be latest. Maybe we'll clean this up later, but anyway, it's not too hard to map this. So we click into this, and then we see what's going on with this guy. I was hearing some noises. Okay. So we know we do some authentication here from the sessions. And then we grab, what is this going on here? You can kind of mouse over it, have a sense. Looks like we grab user data here. Okay, so it's still part of like authentication authorization, I think. And then here's like the meat of what it's doing, insert into query. So we see like everything's pretty quick here, but if you had like issues, you can see like what is taking a long time. And then we're going to instrument like external calls, like we call out to Apple, we call out to Google. So it'd be nice to see if there was like a call being made, like how long is that call being taken. And like I said, in the cases where there's like multiple things going on, you can actually see like where exactly is the bottleneck. So that's the high level. So we can see these traces. We got the data. So it's useful for me as a developer. Like if I'm adding a new feature, then once I'm like manually testing it, I go ahead and look at this and see if like the database calls are what I expect them to be, right? Sometimes you have some kind of unexpected database call because I'm calling another method and that's making some calls, and I'm like, whoa, we don't need this here. The next thing I want to do, what I mean is where we want to take this is we want to link these traces to our logs, right? There is actually a button here that says logs. But if I click this, we're not sending logs to Signos, to OpenTelemetry. We do have logs that are coming out on our terminal. And if you're using AWS, you have logs in AWS you can search, but how would you link this trace to those logs? If they're in different systems, right, at the very least, you should be able to take the trace ID. Let me see where the trace ID is here. Is there a trace ID? So if I click on this, this is the root. And I'm just trying to figure this out in real time. We got some good metadata here. Interesting. We have the span ID. I wonder if the span ID is the trace ID. Oh, here we go, up here. So we have this trace ID. So a trace ID is kind of combines all of these, say, spans and subspans together. So ideally, what I want to do is when I go into my logs, I want to be able to filter my logs by this trace ID so that I can get all the log messages associated with everything that the server is doing. So that's good. That's the next process. Next thing I want to do We also need to figure out kind of what metrics we want to gather. Currently, we're not actually gathering any metrics. There's some kind of built-in OpenTelemetry metrics. Like I think this is like it's kind of metametrics. Like ClickHouse is a database that Signals uses for storing hotel data, right? Let's see let me just quickly parse these to see if there's anything useful. So this is like some metametrics. I wonder if any of these can give me like errors. Time taken to read, diet, size of the retry queue, units in the batch, prom HTTP. I wonder if prom means Prometheus, but like really we want to be able to kind of alert on these issues. Let me just, sorry for the deep dive. This is a little diving into the weeds of these tools, but let me just look at this one. So metrics handler errors, all right. Okay, total number of internal errors. Like, I don't exactly know what prom HTTP, but let's see, metric type, sum, unit, cumulative, but like where is the actual number? Okay, I don't, sorry, I don't actually know how to read this. We have the metric, I click on it, I get this screen, and then what? I go to cause. All right, well, the lesson here for me is I need to kind of understand how metrics work, as well as need to understand what metrics we want to gather. Obviously, we want to gather the standard metrics like latency. It'd be nice to know like how long does each endpoint take, and that may already be available because the data can be kind of extracted from the endpoints themselves. I just want to be able to like slice this latency by a specific endpoint. I wonder if I can do this here. Search select environments, search and filter based on resource attributes. Okay. All right, anyway, I do want to mention we also export exceptions. Let's look at our inspections. Exceptions, so this is like errors. Let me see, so we want to see something recent. So today is January 21st. Sort them by last seen. So we got an error here. Oh. MDM service discovery URL not valid. Interesting. DEP, HTTP error. I mean, this is good, right? DEP, this is Apple. Looks like an Apple thing. And we're getting it a few times. So some issue communicating with Apple. So it's good to see that. And this is dev environment, right? So we shouldn't have that many errors. Authentication required, like maybe not like a real error. It's more like a security issues, right? If you're getting a lot of attempts to hit your database, then you kind of flag it. Normally, we shouldn't be seeing this, and it looks like this is kind of the same thing. So we got some kind of error issues. Feels like these two should be the same. Okay, this okay, right? This is like, yeah. And this is really weird. service MySQL replica test, like it's a test service. I wonder why we're seeing this. So, we're working through these. Anything else I want to mention about OptiTelemetry? So we are going to be enabling it on production. We are going to be linking our logs to traces. We'll also be optionally putting logs through OpenTelemetry so that you can view at your logs, you can view your logs and your traces kind of in the same one screen. And we'll also be kind of thinking about metrics, like what things make sense for us to track. Here we can create, our own dashboards. We can create alerts. So there's lots of kind of functionality to give us better visibility, better kind of response, faster, to figure out what the issues are. But of course, all this requires ramp up. Okay, let's talk about the next thing we're doing in engineering, right? So we are focusing on bugs now. We're doing OpenTelemetry, standardizing, giving us more visibility into the product. So next thing we're doing is we're actually thinking about how do we scale a code base. Wow. Let's look at this dot on my forehead. Okay, sorry about that. So we're at over 500,000 lines of code, right? We have a large engineering team approaching about 20 software engineers, and we're kind of running into issues where multiple people working on kind of related parts of the code base, causing merge conflicts, causing cleanup, as well as just the code base itself is getting more complex. So it's harder to kind of understand all the different pieces and where they fit together. So kind of the two overarching issues are kind of merge conflicts, where teams, cannot, like, changes feel risky, right? Changes feel risky, as well as just understanding is harder. So we are kind of piloting an approach taken by GitLab, which is to create a modular monolith where we have several bounded contexts that are kind of cleanly separated, where engineers working on a single bounded context can move fast within that bounded context without necessarily worrying about the rest of the code base. And we have a summary document. Let me pull it up. I'm pulling it up in a different view. Just wanted to get to the right page. Let's see. It's called Modular Monolith README. It's under docs, contributing, architecture, modular monolith, README. We have a central page. We're kind of we're talking about this effort, kind of explanation, what's the modular monolith, what we're trying to do. So we are starting with a single bounded context. This is a pilot. So it's not intended to like fix any of your issues. It's more about, oops, wrong. It's more about kind of putting the concept of bounded contexts into code. So we have an example of something that works, right? So that way, once we try to tease apart other bounded contexts, whether it's like certificates or vulnerabilities or software ingestion, as we're trying to tease apart parts of the code into their own bounded context where engineers can largely work independently, we have kind of a reference implementation. And it is still a pilot, so it's possible that it's going to get backed out, or it's going to modify how things are going. Let me point out a few things. Bounded context. We do have some guidance about kind of database access. Ultimately, we still have a single MySQL database, a single schema, and how we're going to differentiate which tables are owned by which bounded context is by prefixes, right? So like the activity bounded context is going to have an activity prefix to the tables that it owns. Now, this doesn't prevent other people from accessing those tables. So it's not like the database is not a hard boundary, but it is pretty clear, like who owns this table. And also this lets us potentially put in checks in place, like to check, hey, is anyone else trying to access this table? Maybe we want to kind of keep track of that. So we have, so let's I want to talk about some reference patterns. So we're still in the process moving logic to this new bounded context, but it is in code right now. So we do see this structure in code. Let me show in code. So if I go to code here, I go to our fleet repo, I go to server, and then activity is the activity bounded context. So you can see kind of where we are at right now, all these files here. So a couple things to point out, which may be interesting, is that we are using this internal directory, which is a Go feature. Go is the programming language we're using. And this effectively makes all these directories and the files inside of them only accessible by the other files and directories kind of at the same level of hierarchy. So anyone above this level of hierarchy, above the internal level of hierarchy, will not have access to these, right? So in order to create this activity bounded context, you go through this bootstrap directory. So this bootstrap, it's called a composition root pattern, right? There's one place where you go and you just create this bounded context, create the service, create the database connections. Next pattern is anti-corruption layer. So we've got this activity bounded context, and we still have kind of the older code. Now the older code has a few issues. One of the issues is it has a very large package called fleet. So I believe it's no, it's not top level. Okay, right here, server fleet. So you go to server fleet and you see it's pretty large. Now the size is, maybe not the biggest concern. The biggest concern is this fleet package. Let me go to file here. I don't know, device.go. This fleet package has a bunch of structs, and they're mixed between kind of public structs that are part of the API. They've got public structs. They've got JSON over here, so they've got like API level structs, and they've got private structs that are only used for specific things. So this fleet package kind of mixes everything together in one place. And in addition, this large fleet package also imports other dependencies, right? So by importing other dependencies, it transit dependencies, it increases your compile time, and possibly those other dependencies may affect the functionality of this package, right? So these anti-corruption layers are supposed to kind of abstract all those details away from a new bounded context, right? And once we do clean up clean up the API for this legacy code, right? Once we have a clean API where it's just whatever is needed for that API, not like everything plus then some, right? Once we clean that up, we can use this API directly without going through this anti-corruption layer. Dependency injection, right? The activity-bounded context is specifically, we're calling out here authentication and authorization. So both of these concerns are kind of injected into the bounded context. So like the activity-bounded context is not responsible for its own authentication or its own authorization. Although we do need to test authentication and authorization kind of at a bigger level, but it doesn't, doesn't have that code. So the idea here is authentication and authorization is like a cross-cutting concern. So we've got it in one place, and then bounded context can all kind of use the same approach. And then test organization, specifically having this kind of internal test directory specifically for integration tests. And part of the reason we're doing that is because traditionally we have this large service package, server, service. We have this large service package, and it contains not only kind of unit tests, but also integration tests like here we go. Has a bunch of integration tests as well, a lot in fact. And the problem there is these integration tests often need a lot of stuff, a lot of setup, dependencies on the database, dependencies on, I don't know, SMTP, AWS, whatever we're testing, Android, they need a lot of dependencies. So it makes, by having like all the integration tests mixed in with the unit tests, what ends up happening is these unit tests take a long time to compile, because whenever you compile the unit test, you're not just compiling the unit test, you're compiling everything, including the integration tests, which have a lot of dependencies. So the compile time for these tests, just a basic recompile is like 20 to 30 seconds. So it kind of slows down development. So that's part of the reason why we're kind of breaking apart integration tests from your basic unit tests, because we want the unit tests, which are going to be in these packages, to be really fast, right? It's just that package with like minimum dependencies. So you should have like a second or two workaround. If you write some code, you want to rerun tests, it should be almost real time. So it's a goal here is a better developer experience. Okay. Oh, right. I see a comment. Wow. Oh, my bad. My bad. I see a comment from Andrew. We lost a screen share, FYI. That is my bad. I was trying to show the implementation of the bound context stuff, so I talked for a while. All right, just to summarize, we have the doc under docs contributed architecture module monolith. We are adding the stuff I talked about it. Should be merged in shortly. So some reference patterns, directory structure, internal versus external, anti-corruption layer. I kind of talked through that. Dependency injection. I kind of talked through that. Nothing special here. And then tests. All right, let's move on. So far we talked about our focus on bugs, our open telemetry, our move to kind of modularize, speed up our engineering internally. The next thing I want to talk about is load testing. Our customers have different environments, run with different machine mixes, feature feature mixes. For example, someone may be doing like MDM for all their Apple devices, but not for their like Windows or Linux devices. So different mixes of devices, different software. So we want to be able to kind of test as much of that as possible under load. So that means, but we don't have like 100,000 machines that we can just, spin up, and test with, as well as we need like different combinations of features. So the goal there is that we kind of find any kind of performance issues before our customers do. So that means having a load test environment that is somewhat realistic. So what we have right now is we kind of we have like fake hosts. So like you have like a Mac OS machine. It's running OSCORI on it, so it's able to get data from OSCORI tables, and then it's also enrolled in your MDM, so it's able to talk MDM protocol. So we have like a fake host, and then with a fake host we can run like 100,000 of them, and that kind of simulates the load for our fleet server. So I'm not like involved into this day to day. I'm more involved in the OTel and monolith work, but we are improving it in multiple ways. One way is to provide like realistic data, for example, realistic software, so that way that way, for example, if we're checking for vulnerabilities, if we're using realistic software, we're going to have realistic vulnerabilities, so that the number of vulnerabilities we have will kind of roughly match what our customers have. We need to make improvements, right? We need to scale our kind of MDM capabilities. I think we're I think we say we support MDM up to 30,000 devices right now, roughly. So we definitely want to scale that higher than that, right? We want to support MDM for like 100,000 devices. We also want to kind of extend support for Android, right? Android is something we've added recently. It's still it's still getting to its maturity phase, but we also we know that if a customer wants to deploy a new certificate to 10,000 Android devices, they're able to do that, and our server is able to handle that. So we're kind of working to improve that infrastructure, right? Because we don't want our customers to be hitting load issues in production. We want to catch all those for our new features before our customers see them. Okay, so that's really I think those four things, that's really what I talk about as the main topic today. Let's see, we got 40 minutes, so let me see. Let me mark scaling fleet eng. So we talked about scaling. So next is kind of look at and fix bugs. So so let's take a look. I actually did not like specifically prepare this. I guess I'll tell a story. So I was gonna so a slightly weird thing that happened yesterday, and I can demonstrate this now. So this is my board. So there's like issues on my board, stuff I'm working on. And yesterday I filed this bug. I've been like working on and QAing Okta conditional access. We have another engineer working on a feature there right now. And I found this issue where we were expecting hex, but we had a testing proxy that was sending decimal format. So I filed this bug. You can see it right here. And about 30 minutes later, I had like a contributor PR, which like looked reasonable. And my plan for this call was actually like take a look at that PR, maybe merge it. But today I went here, right? There's PRs right here. You see it, 38553. I went here. Let's see what happens. And if I click on this, I get a 404. So this PR is no longer there. Not only that, and the comments that contributor made, which was in this issue, he made a comment like, hey, I put up a PR, take a look at it. That comment is no longer there, and it's not even in the history. So I'm guessing what happened is this was some kind of bot, right? I mean, I was pretty sure the code was AI generated, but still, like, this change is not that big of a deal. Like, the code looked reasonable. So I wonder if GitHub like flagged that user, that maybe that user has been like submitting a bunch of PRs to different projects, and they flagged him as an AI bot. But the PR is gone, even though this this tag over here is remaining. That's interesting. So let me quick look at the issues I have. Let's see if there's anything interesting here. Let me talk to these kind of small refactoring here. Here's actually, this is kind of a feature / bug. So I'm actually going to open a new feature bug for this. Yes, authorization tests. It's more about like how we're doing, how we're going to be testing authorization, because I mentioned with the bounded context, authorization is injected, but we still want to test it. So we kind of need a pattern for testing that. Also kind of clean up refactoring. Yeah, this is, create a new struct, because this method does not return teams. Usually if you go and fetch all users over a user's API, you get teams as well, which may be a lot of data. But in this case, I actually said like, we don't need teams, but if we don't need teams, we should use like a different struct. So not confuse people. Auditing. Yeah. I mean, these are like small engineering improvements. I don't think it's super interesting. What we want to do is look at some bugs related to the product. So let's go ahead and look at our bug backlog. So I'm going to focus on my team, security and compliance. But if you've got a bug you want me to look at, I can do that as well. And typically bugs that are here on our project drafting board, which is also public, if they're here in these two columns, ready to estimate or estimated, right? They don't actually have anyone actively working on them. So that means anyone can feel free and look at these bugs and try to fix it and open a PR on it. I'm sure feel free to use an AI agent, as long as you're not an AI agent yourself, right? So you don't get kicked out by GitHub. So our bug prioritization process is first to look at any kind of issues that have a P label, like priority label. So P0, P1, P2. I don't think we have any here. P1, I see. Okay. Android certificates error. Is this new? 16 minutes ago. All right, real time. Yes, we know this issue. we know this issue. We are bringing up our Android certificates feature, which I spoke previously. So I believe this is a known issue. So in real time, real issue 16 minutes ago. It is a customer issue. So if I do this and I know where this issue is, github.com micromdm, yes, micromdm.skip. If I go here, go to issues, and I want to search it. Oh, nope. I thought I would be able to get this. I thought I would be able to find this. So I'm clicking around because I forgot where it was. Okay, B tag length is more. BER tag length is more. Let me see. BER tag length is more. This is the only place it's mentioned. All right. Okay, this is just, he's just saying, he's saying that. I'll look at this to more. So it's coming from this PKCS7 library. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Skip reference, I get this. What's the fix here? Is this still open? It's a lot to read here. Just trying to see what the resolution here is. Dependency issue. Okay. KCS7. So it looks like the summary here, it looks like this issue is coming from this PKCS7 dependency. Right. I'll make a comment to that regard. Make sure there's no Okay, we got 10 minutes. All right, so we're looking at bugs. So we got, so we're looking first at P1P issues. After that, we're looking for customer issues. So we have customer dash codename tags. So I would search them like this. After that, we're looking for any kind of flaky tests because we don't want to have flaky tests in our environment. See, nothing is flaky. After that, we're looking at any dog food issues. So anything that has a dog food label, dog food is our own environment. The reason we do that is because we have the context. It's faster for us to fix issues in dog food. And then lastly, we're looking for just any other bugs ordered by their age. So we don't want bugs to be sitting out forever. So we want to handle old bugs. So we do have, just our product team has label bug. Let's see how many bugs. Has 27 plus 13, not bad. 40 bugs in our backlog. Other teams may have more. We do have. Let's just take a quick look. We got the MDM team. With 18 bugs in the backlog, so it's not bad at all. Software team. Software team without any bugs in their backlog. Wow. Wow. I'm surprised. Okay. So software team has capacity to work on software features. And then our orchestration team has, wow, has the most. Whatever, 70-ish, 70-ish bucks in the backlog. Okay, that's a lot. All right, let's take a look at specific ones. We got 3 minutes. Maybe we can prefetch some work here. So we want to take a look at customer issues. I'm gonna take it from ready to estimate. Okay. Attempts to write duplicate upgrade code. I felt like we fixed this. December 19th. Why is this still here? I mean, I worked on this fix. We had a customer had this issue, so we fixed it. So yeah, this is me. I'm just looking for the 478.1. For 78.1. Okay, cool. Duplicate CVs. So as a security and compliance team, we have a lot of kind of CVE related issues. So we have where vulnerabilities are matching kind of the wrong software versions. Duplicate CVE entries, false negatives. BitLocker register keys revert to allow after encryption. That's interesting. Okta skep cert expiration query not functioning as intended. That's interesting. We're gonna look at this one. Android certificates, that's the one we just looked at. So let's look at this one, Octa-Skep cert expiration. What's that talking about? We have Octa. Okay, our query. We have a glide, okay. What is this? Great Skep certificate profile and fleet. What are we talking about? Deploying platform SSO. Okay, Mitch wrote this in October. All right, so like platform SSO, right? New feature for macOS. I have not played with it, but it looks like we are saying we support platform SSO. But we need Octa doesn't support. This means you need to redeploy a quick prior to expiration. Okay, this finds the devices. This makes sense. This makes sense. So what are we saying here? That query not work correctly. Update the query to have a working query. Following our guide, this query is not working. I mean, Mitch wrote the guide. Should I ping him? I don't want to be bothering people that shouldn't be bothered. I mean, it's like first pass, this looks fine. Like this query is just not getting that cert. Like it's not even really a security and compliance issue. It's more like an OS query issue, right? There's something wrong with this query. Okay. Mitch. Since he wrote the article, perhaps he has this cert on his device already. All right, we're 11:59. Let's wrap it up. Thank you for hanging in there. I apologize for the screen thing. Yeah, it's not the first time, so really no excuses. All right, and we'll be back in 2 weeks, hopefully. I am speaking at the European Open Source Conference, FOSDEM, not this weekend, but next weekend. And then I come back on Monday, so hopefully we can do another office hours on Wednesday. All right, thanks everyone for watching. Yeah, feel free to pre-fetch questions ahead of time next time. And thanks everyone.